The Atlanta Braves took down the St. Louis Cardinals 6-5 behind the power of a double catcher lineup. Let's talk about it.
This is the Braves Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Atlanta Braves. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into the Braves Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, author of the Braves Today newsletter over at bravestoday.com. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. Jake Mastriani is on vacation this weekend, so we are running solo for this Cardinals series. And because Jake's out, those of you who are here with us live on YouTube, I'm going to turn on the YouTube comments here. They'll show up on the right-hand side of the screen as you guys leave comments, so I can make sure I see those while we talk about the game. Please don't make me regret that decision. We're here to talk about Atlanta's 6-5 win over the St. Louis Cardinals. And this game was a bit of two extremes, right? These teams score all of the runs in the first 3 innings of the game. And then when the bullpens come in, nobody scores a run the entire rest of the game. And both of these pitchers struggled early, and the bullpens came in and really kind of locked it down. We're going to get to the pitching, but I think the biggest story of tonight, we have to start off with Sean Murphy. Atlanta did the 2-catcher lineup. We saw this a little bit last week, and they sat Marcell Ozuna. They played Drake Baldwin behind the plate, and Sean Murphy as the designated hitter, batting fourth. Those 2 catchers combined for 5 hits in 9 plate appearances with 2 home runs, 2 runs scored, and 4 RBI. Both of the home runs came from Sean Murphy. And even one of his outs, I want to say, was he had a 104 mile an hour line out that actually had like a 470 expected batting average. Sean Murphy's seeing the ball incredibly well right now. And I know that Atlanta, like, people have asked and people have talked about this, about, hey, are the Braves going to trade Sean Murphy? I think today you saw the good that can come from having 2 very good catchers when you have, in this case, an injury and poor performance from Marcell Ozuna, who's been one of the worst hitters in baseball down the stretch, like, I guess, since his injury that he missed the Toronto series for. You can plug Sean Murphy into the lineup and, or take whichever catcher's not starting behind the plate, plug them into the lineup and get great production out of both. And I do think that, and I made this point over on the newsletter, maybe last week, I do think it's a big deal to have both Murphy and Baldwin in the lineup like this. One, you saw the offense, right? As Masmus points out in the comments, Sean Murphy has been very, very good against left-handers. But another thing that it gives you is it gives you the ability to get Drake Baldwin as much playing time as possible so that he can win you Rookie of the Year. Because the Rookie of the Year nomination, or I guess the Rookie of the Year win, comes with a draft pick after the first round. And Atlanta has the top 4 odds of the number 1 overall pick next year. They're on track to have an early pick. Even if they're not chosen high in the lottery, they're likely going to be in the top 10. So a much larger bonus pool comes with that. If you can get Drake Baldwin enough at-bats to remain as the favorite and win Rookie of the Year, you get the extra draft pick. And the biggest concern there, Jacob Misiorowski of the Brewers was named as an injury replacement to the All-Star game tonight, despite throwing like 25 innings. So the Braves, looking forward, the best thing for the team right now, we saw it tonight, but also the best thing for next year's version of the Atlanta Braves. And the Braves farther down the road is letting Drake Baldwin and Sean Murphy both be in the lineup. Dion Rodriguez in the chat has a question. Does Drake get a monetary incentive if he wins Rookie of the Year? There is something that's given by Major League Baseball. I don't know what it is. I'm not 100% sure what it is. That there's nothing usually in their contracts, in the standard player contract, that gives him something. He would get a full year of service time, even if he didn't qualify for it by winning. But I do believe there is something that they get. So obviously a big deal. The other reason you may want to keep doing this is Austin Riley left tonight's game. And it was kind of surprising by time for his, I think it was his third at bat. He was 1 for 2 with a run and an RBI. I think he had an RBI single in this one. By the time for his third at bat, Luke Williams came in to replace him. The Braves announced later that this was lower abdominal tightness or something like that, discomfort, something like that, which is a really kind of vague and interesting thing there. Don't quite know what that's about. We'll wait to find out. Brian Slicker's going to talk to the media there in St. Louis tonight. We'll see if this is something. Is Riley expected back tomorrow, or does he miss a couple days? Do they hold him out over the weekend so that he can have this and the All-Star break and get like a week off with you only missing maybe two games there? Something else that was different tonight, and I hate that we have to be all excited about this being different. Michael Harris got a base hit. Tonight was really kind of the first time this year they put him in the 9 spot versus, usually batting him 8th ahead of Nick Allen. Michael Harris goes 1 for 4 with the run scored. Now, they didn't quite use, even though they flipped those two guys, right? They put Nick Allen at 8 and Michael Harris at 9. They still didn't necessarily use them the right way. I remember in the 3rd inning, Nick Allen does a sacrifice bunt ahead of Michael Harris. And Michael actually got a good swing on it, got a fly ball to center field. And this was an amazing play by Victor Scott to get Drake Baldwin at home. The process ended up being okay, right? It was not a bad send. Victor Scott was coming in awkwardly. It was an awkward angle for him. He made a perfect throw to the plate, and Baldwin still would have been safe had the slide been a little bit better. His foot kind of popped up as he got to the plate, and so he did not touch the plate in time. But I don't necessarily love the process of sack bunting with Nick Allen in front of a guy who has been an automatic out so much in Michael Harris. Again, it worked out this time. You got this, what would have been the sack fly. And again, fantastic play by Victor Scott. I do think Atlanta made the right decision to send Baldwin. He got a little bit of a slow jump off at 3rd, but I still think Atlanta got that right. He just didn't get the run in. But you also saw Atlanta get a little quiet late. Ronald goes 3 for 5. Outside of that, not many guys did anything else. Jurickson Profar 2 for 4 with 2 doubles. Ozzie Albies is 0 for 3. Again, Nick Allen goes 0 for 2. He does walk. He does have that sacrifice there. But quiet for the offense after Matthew Liberatore leaves the game. Liberatore leaves at the same time as Grant Holmes, who really kind of struggled. And I want to talk about what I noticed from him and kind of why he struggled. We'll do that next, right here on the Braves Postcast. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action for whatever reason, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. Because if you're already following in on the action, why not make it a little more thrilling? You can get in on the game with FanDuel while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and gives you something to root for in every single game that you watch. Even regular season games can feel like must-watch events. Whether I'm placing the same game parlay, watching the bet ride into the 9th inning, or just trying to cash out on a hunch, FanDuel makes it feel like I'm part of the action. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Welcome back to the Braves Postcast. Lindsay Crosby, and I want to talk about what we saw out of Grant Holmes, because this ended up being an impromptu bullpen game, right? 3 innings pitched, 9 hits, 5 runs, 2 walks to 1 strikeout. And Grant Holmes threw 86 pitches to get through 19 batters. And so from a pure workload perspective, now you're not really in a great place for the rest of the weekend when you consider we don't, unless this something came out while we've been on this postcast, I don't think we know who the starter is going to be for tomorrow, but the expectation is Nathan Wiles. Last time he got a start or he got an appearance in the majors, he didn't do very well. He struggled, actually, if I remember right, against this Cardinals team. And so I'm a little concerned about how much exposure you had to do to the pen. You gave Dylan Lee the night off. He pitched both of the last 2 days. Deisabel Hernandez got the night off. Aaron Bummer, Jesse Chavez, none of them pitched. Chavez feels like he's almost a guarantee to get used tomorrow unless it's a very close game, simply because they're probably going to have to make a roster move to get a starter for Sunday. And he's a candidate, as always, to get DFA'd and replaced by somebody else. They could DFA him. They could option down Wiles and bring up 2 different pitchers to supplement tomorrow. Somebody to start, and they could make a 40-man move to add somebody else. But going back to Grant Holmes for a minute, the thing that I noticed with Grant Holmes tonight is it felt like he really struggled with when to throw the cutter versus the fastball and when to throw the slider versus the curveball. He's a really unusual in that those pairings of pitches really kind of blend together. And in Major League Baseball, you kind of want those to be separate, right? You want your cutter and your fastball to be distinct pitches. Most people want that to happen. Grant Holmes, those are really similar pitches, and he kind of goes back and forth with the usage of them. And the idea there is you never know what's coming. It looks like it's a fastball out of the hand, but it might be a cutter, and it moves off the barrel a little bit. You think it's a slider coming, and it's a curveball, and it drops below the barrel. But it felt like he really kind of struggled here with making the wrong decision, right? He would try to, he'd throw a slider down and away, and it probably should have been the curveball. I want to say it was if I remember right, it was like a 1-2 count, and he throws a slider down and away on the corner when he probably could have dropped a curveball below the zone. Now, that being said, a lot of the contact off of Grant Holmes was also not hard contact. He gave up his fair share of hard hit balls, but 43-mile-an-hour single by Victor Scott looked like a sack bunt, really. Kind of popped up and landed in front of the thing there. 66-mile-an-hour single by Nolan Arenado. 76-mile-an-hour single by Nolan Gorman. 88-mile-an-hour double by Alec Burleson. Just a ton of soft contact really kind of got to him there. And Grant Holmes was playing with fire the whole time. I think it was the bottom of the second. He ends up loading the bases, bunch of soft contact, and he gets out of it. But eventually they started to cash those in, and that's why he went up so high. But what I will say about Atlanta in this game, 5 different innings the St. Louis leadoff hitter got on. Atlanta stranded that guy 3 times because the bullpen really stepped up. Iniel De Los Santos, 2 scoreless and perfect innings, 1 strikeout, no hits, no walks. He got the win. He's now 3-2. Austin Cox gave a good inning of relief, albeit with a walk. Rafael Montero gave you a solid inning, gave up 1 hit. Pierce Johnson gave up a walk. And then Raisel Iglesias looked again kind of like the old Raisel Iglesias. Raisel Iglesias has been pitching a lot of 9th innings. And I think Jake and I talked about this last night. They've been using Dylan Lee a lot in the highest leverage moment and saving Raisel Iglesias for the 9th. In his last 7 games, he's pitched 7 innings with 2 hits, 1 walk to 11 strikeouts. In his last 15 games, he's pitched 13 and a third innings with 4 runs, 3 walks, and 17 strikeouts. So if this really is it for the Atlanta Braves, like if they are not necessarily, like they know they're not contending, they're going to do trades. Raisel Iglesias has rebuilt some of the lost value simply because he's been so good recently. Again, last 15 games, 2.70 ERA. Last 7 games has given up 3 base runners and struck out 11 in 7 innings. So shout out to Raisel Iglesias for being much better. The bullpen as a whole was fantastic. Again, now the question is, what do you do? How deep can Nathan Wiles go tomorrow? And can you avoid using a lot of these guys tomorrow so that you have them for a possible bullpen game or a shorter start from somebody on Sunday? Again, Aaron Bummer, Jesse Chavez, Daisy Hernandez, Dylan Lee didn't throw. You can probably get 6 innings out of that group of guys. If you're winning, you're going to have to go back to some of those high leverage relievers, right? You've got Dylan Lee, you've got Daisy Hernandez, but you're not going to want to throw Chavez in a 1-run game. You're probably not going to want to throw Austin Cox. I don't think they trust him enough for a 1-run game yet. You'd have to bring Raisel Iglesias back or Pierce Johnson back or something like that. So we'll see what happens there. Again, as far as I see, they have not yet announced who this is, but Nathan Wiles is my expectation for the starter. And then the Braves brought back Joey Wentz today, claimed him off of waivers. I see Julie in the chat asking, what do we know about him? He's not going to be, I don't think he's going to be starting. He's been working in relief for the last couple of years, and he's not actually been that good in relief this season or last season. So I really think if they add him to the roster before the All-Star break, you have 3 days, I believe it's 3 days now, after a guy is claimed before you actually have to add him to the roster. They may wait until after tomorrow's game, report him to the roster after the game, and get rid of somebody there. And so that is one of the moves. It's entirely possible that's what they do, but I wouldn't expect more than an inning or 2 out of him. And that would probably be on Sunday, probably not tomorrow, because you'd like to be able to use one of the guys you would get rid of, probably Jesse Chavez or Nathan Wiles. You want to use them tomorrow. I did see a thing in here. I'm trying to find where it was real quick. From Mr. Lickett, great name. Rookie of the year gets $750,000. Runner-up gets $500,000. So the league does financially compensate them for winning those awards. So Drake Baldwin would get additional money. $750,000 would roughly equal his salary this year. So he would get a bonus equal to 1 year's salary if he would do that. Kind of final thing here I saw from William Joyner. I don't know why the center fielder jumped on that home run. He's referring to Victor Scott jumping up for the home run to center from Sean Murphy, the second homer. Not even close. I'm going to disagree with you here. You're right, it wasn't that close at all. But a good center fielder knows, or a good outfielder in general, knows to give a little bit of that effort, even on a no-doubter, to not make your pitcher feel that bad. One of the worst things for a pitcher is it's gone, and you look out there and your outfielder doesn't even move. And I'll give Michael Harris credit for this. He can't hit with a lick this year, but Michael Harris will act like he's about to rob a ball that is 8 rows up in the stands. I've talked to players. It sounds dumb, but that's something that they notice. They noticed that dude was going to try to make a play if the wind knocked it down or did something or just acted like it wasn't as bad as it actually was. So shout out to Victor Scott for that and for the fantastic throw home to get Drake Baldwin at the plate. Ultimately kept the game a lot closer, but Atlanta still took this down. Again, Braves win 6-5. Game 2 is an afternoon game. And again, as of right now, from what I've seen, we don't yet know who the starter is going to be for Atlanta, but I'm assuming Nathan Wiles. I will be back with a postcast after that daytime game, and then again, Sunday, an early afternoon game as we head into the All-Star break. Do me a favor. If you're listening on audio, leave a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for being here. It's a Friday night. Jake's not here. I really appreciate you guys coming in so we can chat ball for about 20 minutes. Do me a favor, subscribe to Locked On Braves and Locked On Sports Atlanta. Hit the notification bell so you know when I'm going to come in with a postcast, when Jake's coming with the podcast about the draft and everything else. Reminder, you can watch the Locked On MLB Draft Show on Sunday night. I'm hosting. It's on Locked On MLB, so go check that out over there. And until next time, this has been the Braves Postcast.